Am I working? Okay. Welcome. I think we're live. We've had some technical difficulties, so I think everything's working. Sorry, pardon the wires in here. And hopefully we're live streaming as well. We're doing our best. If in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If I could please ask you all to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You will notice we are without Dr. Frateroli tonight. He is at a very exciting Nation Forward ROTC competition, so he will be back with us next time. The rest of you all received, and he did as well, a copy of the agenda. Were there any adjustments or corrections?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right, then we're going to jump into some special recognition at the very beginning.
And I'm going to introduce Gail Scroggs,
All
who's
right.
going to introduce somebody else.
Okay.
Passing the buck. I'll be around for the picture.
Okay.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for this time to recognize some of our outstanding secondary artists. Just like we have state award winners in terms of state champions and teams, we have state caliber musicians. And this is like an individual state championship, if you will, being selected for the all-state band. And we have an embarrassment of riches. We have 32 students who have qualified for all-state across 7 of our 9 secondary schools. We have an incredible caliber of musician in the Fort Mill School District, and we wanted to take an opportunity to recognize them. At this time, I'll call our first representative, first band director up from Gold Hill, Jennifer Eisenhower.
I'm excited to be here with you tonight and recognize these students. I teach band at Gold Hill Middle School, and I just want to share on the behalf of all the band directors, I want to share just a short statement. Making the All-State Band is an incredible achievement, but if you aren't a musician, you might not know just how incredible it is. This journey started with nearly 10,000 students auditioning at the 6 region levels across the state. Those who placed high enough moved on to compete against the very best from each region. And a final audition, the culmination of hours and hours of practice and dedication, yielded placement or an alternate spot in this prestigious ensemble, sometimes with just a fraction of a point separating those who were selected. 32 of our young musicians from our band programs proved themselves to be the very best in the state of South Carolina. This highlights not only their talent and their work ethic, but also support of their loving families and the outstanding music education that's happening in our band rooms. As a member or alternate for this group, our students were able to play incredibly challenging music under the baton of nationally recognized conductors, and they were able to bring that wisdom and that experience home to further enrich their band programs. We celebrate their achievement and their dedication, and for representing the Fort Mill School District in such an incredible way, and we congratulate them.
Are you going to tell us their names? Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Again, we have a lot of them, so we were just recognizing by school this evening.
Okay.
I do have a list of names if you want them.
Well, maybe at the end we could read all the names then.
Awesome. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Next, representing the high school, Catawba Ridge, and their director, Mr. Butler. All right. They're going straight to a photo.
All right, all right. So y'all gonna have to get a lot closer than that.
Oh.
Nobody else wants to
Set a
speak.
precedence.
Mr. Butler set a precedent. Now they don't want to talk.
Voted for Jennifer to speak.
And then last but not least, representing Nation Forward, Mr. Linkus and the Nation Forward band members. Now, I know Mr. Linkus had things to say, but he's just following suit. So.
Come on now.
So to recognize these outstanding musicians, again, selected from the top, we have 32 of the top musicians in the state from over 10,000 students that at the middle and high school level auditioned. And it's not an easy audition. It's a nerve-wracking thing, and it goes through several steps from music theory to performing a piece to sight reading to knowing your terms. But they were the best of the best with music. So as Ms. Spears asked for, Gold Hill Middle School was Connor Anderson, Priyanshi Bishwash, Connor Hennessy, Aaron Welsh, and Agnes Zelinskate. From Catawba Ridge, we have Nathan Hurley, Henry Lee, Lana Lee, Josh Pritchard, Joshua Sanford, Zane Snipes, Harrison Turner. From Fort Mill High School, Willa Clark, Ella Culver, Lila Hain, Olivia Morton, Caden Munoz, Zoe Nazneski, Catherine Raft, Luke Rappa, Casey Stauffer, Jack Sullivan, and Nation Forward Jasmine Gorin, Joshua Homan, Molly Lesner, Chelsea Minihan, Karina Tulsuf, and Chase Turner. We're very proud of all of these musicians. Thank you.
Thank you. Quite an accomplishment. We also have a school spotlight, which is kind of like a recognition-ish thing tonight, from TK Elementary. So Bridget, are you going to? All right, we'll let you take it away from here.
All right. You may have noticed we have lots of different people, lots of different colors here. We're not hard to find, right? I think we've got some other people that are coming in late. But tonight we just wanted to thank you guys. For those of you that don't know me that are watching, I'm Bridget Wagner. I have the distinct privilege of being principal at TK Elementary School. This is my 6th year and 11th in administration and 19th year. And I've only taught here in Fort Mill. So it's such a privilege to be here. I remember going to my first board meeting, and now here I am. This is the first time I've ever been in this side. It's crazy. So apologize for my nerves. But tonight we just want to take time to really look at what's going on in Titan Country. So TKK has always been known as a school that produces high-achieving students. Our partnership with our school community outside, our parents, it's phenomenal. They are assisting us at every turn, whatever we need. And so that's something that we are always very proud of. But there are other things that we've been working really hard on this year. So one of those things that we want to dive in deeper tonight and give you guys just a snapshot into the intentional work that we've been doing behind our staff culture. In partnership with the South Carolina Department of Education, we embarked as a school family upon a collective leadership journey. Tonight, you're going to hear how this work began, how we came to this particular spot in our journey, how it's currently going, and how it is already positively shaping our already bright future. During our presentation, you're going to hear from a variety of teacher and staff members to explain more about CLI. So during this time, you're going to see many of us, and we will welcome questions at the end if there are any that you guys have. So to get us started, to explain a little bit more about our collective leadership initiative, I'd like to introduce one of our fabulous 5th grade teachers, Ms. Hillary Goggins. And she is one of our 2 core collective leadership initiative team members. Say that 3 times fast.
Hello, everyone. So as Bridget said, Collective Leadership Initiative is ran by our state's Department of Education with the purpose of building leaders among staff. So really giving teachers the opportunity to lead without necessarily having to leave their classroom. And so with the goal also being that it trickles down to our students. So not only are we building leaders amongst our staff, but also our students, while also promoting a world-class knowledge, skills, and life characteristics. Our journey for CLI started with developing a problem of practice, also known as a POP. And so the purpose of the POP is to truly guide our next steps in whatever activities or sessions that we may plan amongst staff. And so our guiding POP has been, how might we find ways to create a collaborative and trusting staff culture? So far already, we've learned that relationships are built through vulnerable collaboration. For us, this began with a survey at the very beginning of the school year that was completed by the staff. And so with this survey, the CLI core team was tasked by the Department of Education to then move forward in developing our POP. However, when we got the data back, we were at a crossroads. Our quantitative data showed an area of concern to be work structures. However, the qualitative data showed the area of concern to be supportive relationships and social norms. So rather than just the 5 core team members deciding, this being a whole school process, we brought all of this data back to the staff, wanting to be transparent, and asked them for feedback, which is the form that you're seeing right now. Each team was provided with this form. They voiced their opinions, gave constructive and open feedback so that we could really navigate where we wanted to move next. After collecting all the forms, we were able to see that the team and the staff really wanted to move forward with working on our staff culture. And so this slide right here pretty much just shows the workings of all of this journey so far. From the very beginning, we've been rooted in teacher and staff voice, our school's mission, vision, and IROC core values, while keeping in mind that for our school specifically, for CLI, our purpose is to build relationships among students and staff while also valuing the work that we all do. And so throughout the rest of the presentation, as Bridget said, you're gonna hear about these 6 branches and how they've emerged and developed. And so we're excited for you to get a little insight into what's been going on at TGK. And so next we'll have Ms. Sam Kirkley, another 5th grade teacher, but she's also one of the CLI Action team members.
Thank you, Ms. Coggins. So as Hillary mentioned, one of our goals this year was to continue to build relationships amongst our students and our staff. And so we managed to do that in a few different ways, through PLT mingles, through our classroom connections, and also through other social gatherings. One of those social gatherings, as you can see on the screen, was a fierce battle of rock, paper, scissors between the staff. And we each, as each winner progressed to the next round, we clapped and cheered and encouraged each other until the final 2 battled it out. And you can see our kindergarten teacher there shrugging her shoulders and championed all the way to the end. So she was our final winner. Excuse me. Another goal that we have implemented this year was our PLT mingles. So this was an opportunity for classroom teachers and other team members to spend some time in other grade levels that maybe we don't necessarily mingle with on a day-to-day basis. So as a 5th grade teacher, for me to spend time in a 1st grade classroom was very eye-opening. We all know that the content area standards travel from year to year, but it was very reassuring for me to see a 1st grade teacher using the same academic vocabulary that we in 5th grade to continue to use. So that I saw that as a journey that we're all traveling on. So what you're looking at right now is some of the feedback that our teachers shared with us after they got to experience time in another grade level. And as you can see, kindergartners really are not that much different from our 5th graders. Another area where we have really tried to build those relationships and experience time with each other was through our classroom connections. So we started this journey with a survey, and each person on our faculty checked
interests or special skills or talents or activities that they may consider trying with a partner. Think of this kind of like a dating app where you may swipe left or swipe right. So once everybody in our faculty took the survey, we gathered all that information and we matched up classrooms together that showed that they had common interests or talents or things they just wanted to do together. So some of the photos you're seeing on the screen at the moment are some of the evidence of those experiences with each other. So some of the experiences include reading buddies, playground friends, publishing parties, steam egg roll drop. I wanted to be there for that one. Creative art, and card creations. And now Ms. Stevenson, our lead teacher, is going to talk a little bit more about other community connections.
So as you may know, a lot of the schools around the district do one school, one book family STEAM night, and that's what I'm going to share with you. We this year chose Ulysses or Flora and Ulysses. We had a team comprised of several different grade level teachers, our librarian, myself, and a couple of parents that we swore to secrecy. They could not share what our title was going to be, and they helped us plan our wonderful one school, one book activities and things that we did throughout reading of the book. But then we planned, we made some special partnerships with different grade levels. So as you know, TGK is a 2-level school. So sometimes if you're in the building downstairs, you may never see the people upstairs or vice versa. So we planned intentional partnerships with grade levels so that they could work together and plan their STEAM night activities. So we had, maybe the first grade with the 5th grade or vice versa, just depending upon kindergarten and 3rd grade work together. These relationships have really helped beyond those PLT mingles, our whole grade levels getting together and doing things. The partnerships have just extended beyond our one school, one book night that you can see here. And we actually right now have our kindergarten with our 3rd grade raising the chicks. The kindergarten has always had that experience, and now that's moved in science to our 3rd grade team. So they are going to help each other raise our baby chicks. They just got those this week. So next, I would like to pass the mic to Tiffany Vickers, our phenomenal kindergarten assistant, our support staff of the year, and one of our 2 main house leaders, as well as Dolly O'Hara, our awesome RBT and former support staff of the year.
Hey guys. Thank you. So in August of 2021, we launched our Titan House system and haven't looked back. Every person in our building belongs to one of our 5 houses, which represents our 5 core values: integrity, relationships, open-mindedness, commitment, and compassion. Each year, we try to add a new and different element to create that further sense of community. One of the things that we really honed in on this year through the Collective Leadership Initiative is the idea of 5 houses, 1 home. Welcome to Titan Country. Thank you. We have been very intentional this year adding in our house days. So house days are run by our 4th and 5th grade ambassadors to bring our individual houses together. It helps build relationships among the different grade levels with students and teachers. This goes along with our CI3T initiative with having school-wide incentives for students showing those IROC core values. I'll play the video there. To help build those relationships with our new students, we have a house reveal day where we bring the whole grade level together and celebrate as they find out their new house. The role of student ambassadors is one that is taken very seriously by our students and staff. The ambassador's role helps teach them life skills of leadership and how to build relationships not only with their peers, but also with adults. So all of our houses have a special day. So this is Integritas or integrity. So this house, each house is paired with a community organization to help expand our relationships within the community we serve. This allows us to show our Titan core values outside of school and reinforce the importance of strong community involvement. So for Integritas Day, we have Pause for the Cause, where we partner with the Humane Society of York County and collect items that they need. For Richton Day, students partnered with the Lions Club to stuff Easter eggs for the annual TGK Egg Hunt, and students created cards for the residents of Wellmore Assisted Living and Memory Unit. For Sabar Day, we have focused on unity. The ambassadors and the No Place for Hate Committee teamed up and created a presentation on ways for students to make new friends. Next year, we are working to partner with Special Olympics and the Best Buddies program to be more inclusive within our school. Zavazanos Day. That's us. We are the Red House. This is my partner. We collected books for the little libraries around TGK, Fort Mill, and the Rock Hill communities. This is another house day that we are looking to add to by having students partner up with our school for a literacy program in the spring each year. So hopefully you'll get to see our beautiful faces at the picnic. For Dearness Day, we showed compassion by collecting food for the Fort Mill Care Center. Our students collected 449 pounds of food, which is amazing. The donations helped to provide 1,736 individuals with food this quarter. We look forward to next year and continuing the building of relationships between students and staff. Next up is one of our amazing first grade teachers, Miss Elena Woody.
Oh, different colors. Different teams.
Hi, we represent the CI3T team at TKK. Through utilizing the CI3T model, we're able to bring together academics, behavior supports, and social emotional learning to create an inclusive environment for all students and staff to learn and grow together.
So, two foundational parts of CLI are the teachers' voices being heard as well as collaboration among everyone in the building, which is something we did this school year when we decided to rewrite our behavior expectation matrix. This is a big part of CI3T. It really lays out for the students what we expect of them while they're in the building throughout different locations. This is actually our current expectation matrix, which we created 3 years ago, so it's been in implementation for 2 years. So with this being our second year implementing it, we decided to really take a deep dive and look at the data from CI3T, which was through classroom observations and teacher surveys, to really see what areas were going well for us and as well as what areas we wanted to improve upon. So we came to the conclusion as a staff that we would like to rewrite our behavior expectation matrix to better fit the needs of our students as well as our current staff members. So what you see now is the new expectation matrix that we created. It's more clear, it's more concise, and it's going to be easier for not only the students but for the staff to use and reinforce those positive behaviors. One thing that we really wanted to include next year that we are doing this year is tying in the house system with this behavior expectation matrix. So we did that by titling it I Rock in Titan Country. So when the students are kind of walking around the building and looking at these posters, they can look up at them and be like, oh, I rock here in Titan Country by doing these behaviors and showing these things. We also are carrying over our tickets from this year to next year. This year we implemented the 5 Houses, 1 Home ticket collection system, which is where the students receive a ticket for showing those positive behaviors. This year we have perforated tickets, so it's kind of like a raffle ticket where the students have 2 pieces. One piece they get to keep for them in the classroom and exchange it for different rewards and incentives in their classroom. The other piece goes into their house bucket, which is what you see here on the screen. So what they do is they all work together to reach that goal line, and once they've reached the goal line, they get to participate in those house-wide parties and things that you saw earlier with the house system. So our students really enjoy being acknowledged for showing those positive behaviors, and they enjoy getting to work together to reach that goal for their house, and we're excited to implement our new behavior matrix next school year. So up next we have Dolly O'Hara, our behavior technician, and Slim Caldwell, our school counselor with the social committee.
Such a social bug.
All right, so this year we created a social fun committee to spread positivity and help boost the culture within our school to help with the collective leadership initiative. Our goal was to give staff members the opportunity to build relationships with each other outside of their grade levels and in fun ways.
How beautiful is that tree?
So we updated bulletin boards throughout the school. We created a this or that magnet board in the workroom, as you can see on the screen. And we also planned several opportunities for teachers to connect and have fun together each month.
So some of the things that we did some potlucks, which the teachers really loved. We did scavenger hunts where we hid little frogs for like leapfrog, or we had pumpkins and spiders for October, and they got a prize for that. We also did our holiday party, which was a big success. It was one of our biggest ones. We had 78 staff members come, which was good for us. And then we also partnered 2 teachers, and we call it the Secret Titan, where we partner 2 teachers together, and they just, throughout the month, they, do some positive gestures, some fun things, and in May, we will do a reveal to see who they got. Now, during the holidays, this is one of our fun activities that we love to do. We do a contest throughout the school. Each grade level dresses up as a book theme or any kind of holiday theme. And this year, we had the privilege of having all of the elementary principals at a principal meeting at our school, so we had them vote. And our kindergarten team won, which it was well-deserved, if you can tell that. We have enjoyed watching our Titan family come together and become one big family. Thank you. And now we're introducing Hillary again.
All right, so throughout the presentation, I hope you've been able to kind of see a common theme, and it's all about relationships, how we've listened to teachers, making sure that we are working across grade levels, not only with teachers, but also with students, really working on those relationships, especially with the community as well. And so this year has been really great to see how it's flourished from August to now. We're excited to see where it continues to go next year as we continue on CLI. And so we've been happy and privileged to be able to share with you, and we thank you for your continued support.
I had the privilege of having a Titan the first year it opened. I had a 5th grader there, so I know how strong the community spirit is at the school, the parent involvement. That was long before the house structure was implemented. I think that's really exciting to see the kids interacting with different subsets and reinforcing the positive behaviors and things like that, instead of just the academics, which is obviously very important, but learning some other things as well. So it's pretty exciting. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice job. All right. Now on to the less exciting things. You guys are welcome to stick around. Welcome to stick around. I don't know how this happens every time. That's right. That's right.
Warmed up. Come on now.
Our next agenda item is approval of minutes from the March 5th meeting. I am going to abstain because I was not in attendance at that meeting. So you've all had a chance to review the minutes. Were there any adjustments or corrections?
I found none.
All right, then those will stand.
We made our adjustments.
He said, I found one. I was
Oh, you found one? No, found none. Okay, those will stand as approved then. Do we have any public participation this evening? Okay. We do have a handful of staff reports. We'll start with a big one, which is our strategic plan. This is the first reading of our annual strategic plan. So, Dr. Wakesness.
Yes, good evening, everybody. So tonight we will be talking to you about the strategic plan, and I have Matt and Renee with me because they do a lion's share of the work with this, along with all of our schools, teachers, community members, everyone that has input with it. So we will get started by talking about what the plan is, the different components of it, and then I will talk more specifically about some of our strategies and goals. But in a nutshell, the strategic plan is really our guiding document of what we are working towards as a school district. It has academic goals, it has finance goals, facility goals, human resources goals, kind of everything that we do all in one handy document. So Matt's going to get us started.
And maybe you're going to talk about this, but this is the second year of a 5-year plan, is that right?
Third year.
Third year, okay.
Yes, we'll
Wow,
talk
time
about
flies.
that a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, time has flown. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you this evening about this is our annual update. This is year 3 of 5 of our 5-year cycle from our strategic plan that was originally developed in 2021 and then approved in the 2022 school year. So we're really just sharing this with you tonight, and then hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll get the approval from you all as we move forward and then go through our final submission to the state by April 30th. Again, this year is year 3 update of the current 5-year strategic plan. But really the work started in 2019 and it really has included feedback. It's not just the 3 of us doing this plan for sure. It's included feedback from countless stakeholders, including students, teachers, administrators, parents, community members, board members, really just everyone that's could possibly be involved with the goals of the district have given their input for this plan. So I'll just take you through quickly the who, what, why, and how of the plan. So the who really is all of our internal and external stakeholders. From the Cognia accreditation team that came and visited us and gave us their findings, which kind of led to some of our goals and action steps that we needed to take to improve, to our district level employees, school level employees. We just have, again, everyone involved with this, with the creation of this plan. So that's the who. The what, it really is a 5-year roadmap that gives us a direction for how we can continuously improve in really all facets of our system to really just better the learning environment of our students. We really want to continue that culture of excellence that has been in place for so long here in the district, and this strategic plan gives us that roadmap to make those improvements and make that happen. So then the why is really for continuous improvement. We want to make sure that we're on that journey every single day, in the trenches, doing the things that we need to do to improve. And not just that, but it is a state mandate. We have to do this every year. So we have the initial 5-year strategic plan, then we go through the update process. But really the update process is a reflective, it's a valuable and meaningful reflective process for not only the district level staff, but our schools as well as they go through that school improvement plan, dig into the data, and then really make meaningful data-driven decisions to improve student outcomes. And then the how. We just go through a needs assessments, we dig into that data, we uncover our current reality each year, and that allows us to update our goals, update our strategies, our action steps, again, to just continuously improve every single day. So just really quickly, I think we did this kind of the same thing last year, but we have the timeline. Again, this isn't just an overnight process. This started all the way back in 2019-20. We were supposed to go through our Cognia accreditation in 1920. Then the pandemic happened. Well, in 2021 or 2021, we were supposed to go through it. We got a waiver from Cognia, so we did not have to do that. But then the real work started in the spring and summer of 2021 with our needs assessment. We had some committees meet. We went through our Cognia standards, got prepared for that accreditation review, revisited our mission, vision, and core values. In the summer and fall of 2021 is when Cognia came. They did their annual review, and that really led us to our strategic plan and really kind of was a catalyst for our work as we went through and developed our goals. So that's really what happened all through December 21 through April 22, where we met as committees. We had our stakeholder meetings that involved many of you. We had our school improvement plans. And then in April of 2022 is when we got your approval, submitted it to the state, and in the fall of 22 is when our friend, Mr. Pat, was able to give us a favorable, favorable outcome for our strategic plan, which also happened this past year as well. As we submitted our plan in 2023, in April of 2023, we were able to get a favorable outcome on that as well. So fast forward to this year, and again, this is going to be the same type of timeline every single year throughout our annual update until our next 5-year cycle is happening in 2026, 27. Already kind of some plans in the works for that. But we have our pre-planning work in September. Our strategy committees meet in October, November. Some of you were involved with the stakeholder meeting on November 13th of 2023. And then school improvement plans come together. We really go through and do some great data dives. Renee and I work with schools individually to come up with their updates for their plans. And then the schools then turn around and meet with their school improvement councils and staff to update goals and action steps. And then those are going to be due, or they were due on March 21st. We're kind of putting those together right now. And then you can see we're kind of in the middle of our strategic planning committee's work to put our plans together. And then currently we have our presentation to you all and hopefully approval on April 19th. Everything's due on April 30th, so we need to kind of get this wrapped up and sent along to the state for approval, hopefully. So that's it for me. Renee's going to take you through some of the needs assessments findings from this year.
Thanks again for letting us present to you this evening. Like Matt said, there was a pretty lengthy timeline, and one of the tasks on that timeline is the needs assessment. And the needs assessment is just analyzing all of the data that we have, and a few of the sources are listed there for you. The Cognia Standards Review and the Cognia Reports, which was part of our accreditation process. We look at a lot of data, achievement data, college and career readiness, climate surveys and attendance data, and also some teacher retention data. And the last one there is the focus groups. We also get feedback from our focus groups, as he said, from our stakeholders, and that is also part of our data that we look at to come up with our performance goals. So once we analyze all that data, we write the performance goals and we put them onto this template, and I believe you all have a copy of the plan in your packet. And there are 4 components on the plan. So you can see there, the first one is the goal area. That's at the very top of the yellow part, and whichever goal is being discussed on that particular page has an X in the box, obviously. About midway down the page, you see the performance goal, and that is where we want to be in 5 years at the end of the plan. And then if you move a little bit farther down, we have the interim goals, and that's where we want to be at each year of the 5-year plan. And then if you flip the page, so there's a performance goal, then the next page has your strategies and action steps for that performance goal. So those action steps describe in detail what actions we want to take to try to meet that performance goal each year and to meet it by the end of the 5 years. And then by doing that, hopefully we will have accomplished the strategy that's on that page. And Mike's going to talk you through each of our different goal areas.
So rather than reading through all 44 pages of the document, I am going to highlight each of the areas and just pull like a tidbit from each one. So goal area 1 is leadership capacity. We talk a lot about using data to make instructional decisions. The 1.1 that I was looking at Schoolzilla, you guys have heard about Schoolzilla before, one of our big data warehouses, and making sure that we're using that to inform our decisions. We're not just making decisions off the cuff, we're using data for that. The second part of that is effective communication, and a lot of work done by our communications department with that, focusing on strengthening our communications from school to parents, making that even stronger. And then also there's a whole goal area on internal and external communication. One piece of data I pulled from that was the Schoolzilla usage increased from 39% in 2022 to 53.8% in 2023. So quite a large increase, and I think the people that are using it use it very heavily. So we still want to get those numbers up. We want a higher percentage than 53, but those that are using it use it pretty robustly. The next 2 strategies are still within goal area 1. Deal a lot with HR and then student services, but educator quality, teacher recruitment, retention. You see all the strategies are focused on that. Also the Leadership Academy with student services, helping our principals and assistant principals develop their leadership. And one of the snippets I pulled out of that was our teacher turnover, which decreased from 16.4% to 11.5%. Of course, we still want that to get lower and lower, but that was a good outcome in that area. So if you look through the different strategies within these goal areas, those are kind of the things that they focus on. And of course, we'll have time for questions at the end to go into more detail. But goal area 2 is learning capacity, so all about teaching and learning. 2.1 talks almost exclusively about PLCs when you look through that. You know, you've heard me say that a million times, but really trying to use that as a framework / tool for getting better in everything we do instruction-wise. utilizing the expertise of our teachers, our professionals in the building to teach our students and have them grow and learn. As a district, we saw academic gains in just about every academic area and grade level. I think there was 2 listed that we did not quite meet our goal, but it was a very slight difference. But everything else were increased from the year before. One of the standouts is our 6th through 8th grade ELA. Our SC Ready scores grew from 70.6%, which is already amazing, to 77.9%. And you've heard this data before when we did our data update, but that's one of the ones I pulled because that's quite an increase when you're already at a high level to go up 7%. We were excited with that. 2.2 and 2.3 are still within the goal area of learning capacity. And this is, what are we doing to develop our teachers? What are we doing for professional learning? How are we allowing our teachers to grow? What experiences are we giving them? And then the second part of that, the personalized responsive academic support and recovery. How are we supporting our students that need extra help? We heard from TKK about CI3T. That's one of the pieces in that, looking at how we do school, how we support all of our students in different areas. So these 2 strategies really fall under those areas of what are we providing for our teachers to continue to learn and grow. Another thing along with that is, as a district, this is from our cognitive feedback, trying to align more and standardize more while still giving our schools and teachers freedom to be teachers, but creating curriculum maps, pacing guides. We've added the content area coordinators that we were so lucky to have added over the last few years. So things like that are supporting our teachers in the classroom. Goal area 3 is resource capacity. And these are things like having safe and clean schools, making sure that our students have a positive, healthy learning environment to come into every day. Us asking questions like, how can we make sure our students are comfortable where they are and ready to learn in their school environment? Our comprehensive safety plans, which are updated all the time. Things along those lines, monitoring air quality, water quality, all the things that go into what we do as a district kind of behind the scenes, but that are just as important as everything else. Continuation for goal area 3, technology, and then the financial and facility planning part of it. We want to make sure we are focused on that. Again, those are just as important as everything else we do. Making sure we are well prepared for the future for our technology needs and our financial and facility planning, which of course without that we don't have any of the great things that we do have in our district. So one of the things I pulled out of there is our 10-year facility plan. That is not my area of expertise at all, but I know from listening to people, it's quite impressive that we have everything planned out that far in advance. So I pulled that out as well. And goal area 4, personalized learning. This is really looking at what every student needs and what can we do to make sure we're serving each student. This has also become a really big push from the state level over the last few years. And they have an entire department on personalized learning where they come out and help schools and districts further the work in this area. So that's something we're looking forward to continuing. So those are the main goal areas, and also have a slide with our mission and vision, but I wanted to stop and ask for questions.
Yes. I got about 3 or 4 of them, maybe.
All right.
Can I go first then?
Yes, please, go.
Okay, good.
Go, yep.
Use your microphone. Okay. Didn't hear you. Sorry.
Talk to me about our math scores in terms of, and I'm trying to get back to my spot where I was at, 6 through 8 math, and then algebra 1, and even biology. We seem to have had dip, or in the case of algebra 1, a substantial dip. Is it I guess I would call it the holdover effect from COVID? Or is there something else that's underlying that we're missing?
I think
Page 13 and 14, if that helps.
so. Well, one thing I would say first is Scores, especially with the EOCs, because it's a smaller number of students, there's going to be some fluctuation from year to year just by the nature of a smaller number of students taking it. There was a pretty, for our standards, for Fort Mill standards, a drop in both of those areas. I think it's certainly a holdover from COVID and the students missing instruction, especially in math. I don't know if that's quite the same for biology, because it's not necessarily the building of skills like in math. But that is something with the new math standards that we're looking at and making sure that we're providing the extra support that students need for that. And I think nationwide, we're still lower in our math scores, where ELA and English, we've already increased past pre-COVID, but in math, we're still kind of playing that catch-up game.
Well, and as you said and alluded to, that's a building block.
Right.
Math isn't, it used to be. Now it's
Right.
not. Now it's a building block with everything. So.
And I remember talking about it at the time, while students were at home, whether it was on a virtual day or when we were completely out of school, for a while, reading may very well still happen.
Right.
Math?
Oh, yeah,
likely,
no, you
right?
outgrew me at like third grade.
So
Not true, but close.
I think that happened here and everywhere else.
Right.
And I think a lot of the things we're doing with CI3T, with our curriculum mapping, with our coordinators, the work they're doing, is going to help with those issues, with the learning loss, with having a really comprehensive approach to how we support students. So very confident we will get caught back up with some of the things we have in place.
Sure. Okay. That's it. I'm good.
Okay. So, PLCs. I've asked a lot of questions over the last 6 months. I feel like I can explain it to the public. That's what
Very good.
That's how I feel. I may be wrong. And PLCs have been discussed this evening. When you're introducing a methodology the way we discuss the PLCs, because it's a framework, and there has to be a believability from those involved.
Mm-hmm.
How have PLCs impacted today?
I think it's different at each level where we are, just because elementary got such a big head start on it. So I think they're overall doing a much better job with it. But some of the things I see going into our middle schools and our high schools with the teachers, and some of the teachers there, the teams there have been doing it. So they're just as good as some of our elementary teams. But even the ones that are still kind of getting their feet wet, we see them discussing student achievement. We see them discussing teaching practices and assessment results and making changes based off of that. So I can't say with certainty, we saw an increase of 8 points in ELA because of PLCs, because there's so much that goes into it. But I know from observing PLTs and being in schools and hearing people come up here and talk about PLTs, the power of it, I know it certainly does have a positive impact. And how I try to explain it to teachers that are new to it is, it's everything you would do anyway as a teacher: planning, looking at your assessments, making decisions based off of how the students are doing, but doing it with your team. So rather than just me trying to figure it out all on my own, I have 4 other people doing the same thing, and we're able to have those discussions. So I don't know if I would ever be able to say, as a result of PLCs, we saw an 8-point increase. I think that's really hard in education with any kind of input to know exactly the results of it. But I know there's a wealth of data that supports it, and seeing with my own eyes in the classrooms and the planning sessions, the teachers doing it, I know it does have a positive impact.
Okay. Next one, CI3T. This evening I heard Tika K.
Yes.
Mention that, and mention it several times. I guess where I'm coming from here is, if I believe it or not, the reality is if I'm walking to a school and I hear PLCs and I hear CI3T, there's something that's happening.
Right.
Can you explain to the public, those that may have not heard, what is CI3T?
So CI3T is kind of a process where we are building a manual of how we do school. how we teach, how we handle behavior, how we make sure we are meeting the needs of each student. And there's really three components of it. There's the academic side. So what interventions do we have in place for students that aren't getting it the first time? Things along those lines. There's the behavior piece, and you saw the charts up there. Lots of times, and I was guilty of this as a teacher too, we expect kids to know how to do X, Y, and Z, but we never take the time to teach them, like how to line up and to go to the restroom or go to the cafeteria, or how to behave in the hallway, or how to behave walking to the bus. So CI3T really gives a framework of here are a simple set of expectations behavior-wise, and if you meet them, here are some rewards you may get. But also on the flip side, and Gray does a lot of work with this too, and Jocelyn, what are the consequences when you don't meet the expectations? We always want to praise and reward, but also sometimes there's consequences that go with that as well. And then the character side, the third part of it is, what characteristics do we want our students to have? Do we want them to be critical thinkers? Do we want them to be problem solvers? Things along those lines. So really, it's a comprehensive approach to those three things, using data to make decisions to help meet the needs of all of our students. So in 2019-2020 school year, the State Department required each district to have a MTSS system. So just another acronym to throw in there because we like those. But basically CI3T is a MTSS system, multi-tiered systems of support. So how are we supporting our students to do well in those three areas, which I discussed. So we had been doing that forever in elementary school, probably forever informally in middle and high school, but this gave us an opportunity to codify it a little bit so it's standardized from school to school, but not where each school has to do everything exactly the same. We kind of set up parameters, and then each school kind of gives it their own flavor. So I don't know if I made that any less jargony than it started with, but I would say it's a framework for how we do school and making sure that we are looking at data to help us inform those decisions.
So as you're presenting, and your team are presenting this on behalf of administration, and since you're up there as a spokesperson, if you will, what are we most proud of as a district?
Well, I would say for me, I'm most proud of the effort the teachers are putting into everything, and our principal, and really everybody. But I'll start with our teachers and our principals. I don't know that we always think about how hard it is, the jobs that they have, and how demanding and how overwhelming it can be, because you're responsible for the 25 kids in your class and their success as a student, or the 100 students that are assigned to you at the high school or middle school level, and everything that a teacher has to do and continue to grow and learn. Sometimes it's easy just to say, you know, I've been doing this for 15 years, I have it down pretty pat, I'm just going to keep doing that. But really what I see a lot of our teachers are wanting to continue to learn and grow. And develop themselves and push themselves. So I think overall, I would say I'm most proud of the willingness of our teachers to continue to grow as teachers and model that for their students.
Thank you.
I want to add in something that made me think about. That framework is so important because we're adding 500, 600, 700 students every year that came from somewhere else that may have had different expectations, whether it was academic or behavior or whatever. And so I think that's important to have that, as well as we go through transitions. We're a fairly mobile community. People move from school, you know, from area to area, school to school. We rezone, so the consistency is. I've noticed a difference and a focused effort on, you know, frameworks being consistent, although applied in, you know, you do the house system and somebody else does something else, right? But it's still the same general framework.
Yeah, and that was back when we did Cognia several years ago. That was one of the big pieces of feedback, because they said as you continue to grow as a district, you really need to consider having some frameworks in place for those types of things. And I think it helps too, even within a school, so all the teachers are kind of focused on the same thing. I think that helps just within a school even.
Well, and I would also, to the way you answered the question, I can tell you that as we've traveled around and visited the schools, the degree of collaboration that we see between classrooms in the last year and a half is visibly different than what I remember from earlier school visits, right? And it's within teams of grade levels, It's within the analysis on the board of the students, but it's also like I see at the high school, different projects where a math project and an art project are working together, and you would never think of those, but just those kind of things that it's connecting it all together instead of being very siloed.
Yeah.
So I did have one other question.
Okay.
And if you don't have an answer, it's okay because it's very out there. Cognia is a national certification. How many school districts nationwide, South Carolina-wide, how many districts are Cognia certified?
Do either of you happen to know?
I know, right?
We can
I'm
find
like,
out.
oh my God, where did she come up with this?
I think it's the majority of the school districts in South Carolina.
Really?
Yeah.
So is that the standard?
You could either go through Cognia or you could go through the State Department.
Okay.
And I would, definitely a majority do Cognia.
In
I don't
South
know
Carolina.
in South Carolina. I
Okay.
don't know what percentage, but, and probably across the country and international also. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Anthony, did you have one more? Hold on.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
Think at the same time.
Go, girl.
Rock, paper,
Maybe
scissors.
it's the same question.
I'm gonna arm wrestle for it.
So,
Right.
no, we should arm wrestle next time.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I would say rock, paper, scissors. Come on now.
I just have a couple of technical questions.
Okay.
Strike-throughs are updates to the goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if it is a strike, so if we change the goal numbers or even if we change something within one of the strategies, we do a strike through so we have record of what we did.
Okay, because once we approve this, this will be publicly available.
Yes.
And I'm sure people would immediately want to see all the hard work that has
Yes.
gone into this.
Yep.
So just to clarify that. So then a lot of times there's a strike through because, or I'm inferring, because we hit our target 2 years early.
Right.
So why leave it low?
Right.
Reach for the moon.
Yes.
So like on page 38 with the graduation rate of our students of poverty, which I think our original goal was to see it at 90% by the 25-26 school year. And then we had a really good year in 21-22. So we moved our targets higher, which I support. I always think we should be reaching higher, but we didn't hit as high last year for whatever reason. So my question is, when do we look, or do we don't look again at maybe, like I think aiming high is great,
Right.
but maybe did we get super excited about one cohort of kids? I'm just
Right.
thinking, if I was a high school teacher and I had worked really hard and then gotten that data, I'd be like, oh man. And then now that goal's even higher, and
We look each year when we have the committees come together. When is that usually about? Like in February-ish, January, when we have the committees meet to review the goals? In November. So in the fall, yes. The committees will look at it and decide if we want to adjust it based off of what happened the year before or whatever other circumstance that there might
Okay.
be.
And so
that's done yearly.
okay, and there are high school teachers on that committee that would participate in setting the.
There are teachers on the committee, yes.
Okay.
I can't tell you. I would assume it's probably high school teachers on the graduation rate
Right.
one, but
We would.
I can't say
okay.
that for sure.
And I don't understand what data norm error means. I think that's probably a Renee question, but maybe it's a Mike Wakesmith.
I think that is actually Brian.
Oh, it's Brian's middle question.
Hey, yeah, so that was our goal. So we set that goal in the planning year and then went back and looked at our data to try to set the expected targets. And we realized we had some inconsistencies in our data in how we had counted time between different people. So we worked that year to get all on the same page and make sure we were gonna, count things the same way. So we couldn't set that goal that year like we
Got it.
hoped to.
Okay.
So that's why that was like that.
Okay, thank you. And then way back on page 4, there was I'm not sure if it's a goal or an action step. I was listening, Renee. I just can't remember which one it is. about parent communication. And it says that we're gonna evaluate the need for a general it's an action step. Evaluate the need for a general community feedback system, and that we've I just didn't, where are we on that, I guess is my question.
I'll have to get more information on that.
Okay.
And
Joe's coming.
oh, I meant to say Joe's coming up here.
Oh, okay.
That was actually heavily discussed in our committee. That was one of the recommendations that came out of it, was a way for a feedback system. We've implemented a few short-term things, such as we've now been using the communications email for any generic feedback that anybody wants to provide.
Okay.
So we already have something in place just to start with it. We're using that to see how popular that is, to kind of help us build some data, because this is something brand new on it. But we're also researching and looking at other options that we maybe could implement out there that would be more of a official system than just using an email.
Okay.
At this time, so.
Okay. That's all of mine. Did I have any of yours?
No, you
Dang.
didn't overstep. I got speak a little bit to PLC as well. Are we looking at constant? Are we getting constant feedback on how this is going? And if we are, which way are we trending with teachers on popularity of PLCs?
I don't know that as a district we are getting any feedback on how the teachers are feeling about it. I know oftentimes when you start something new, it may not be your favorite thing until you see the results of it and the hard work of it. But at this time, we do not have a method set up to collect feedback on how the teachers are feeling about it. That's certainly something we could do if we wanted to.
It's a good year 3 or 4 kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start seeing it.
So when I only say that because when I hear you say, like, you know, teachers are already overwhelmed with a lot of things, and we have a lot of these things that they're having to partake in now, I think it would be important to get their feedback on how it's going. Yeah, just my opinion there. Now,
Okay.
Something I also want to kind of talk about, and I want to say this is great, and I want to know if this is a trend that we're seeing. We went from 16% to 11% on teacher retention this year. I think that's definitely something to highlight. Is this a trend that we're just seeing like across South Carolina, or is this, do we know if, like, because
Well, and you also have to remember, we'd been at 9 for a long time, and then we had a 16.
Mm-hmm.
So the other question, or the other part of that question would be, have we leveled back off to a more normal state? Because I think we had a couple of years of
yes,
chaos.
Yeah,
do
I
we
think
feel like we're coming back to that?
I don't know, Paul, if you have anything to put in there. I think there's probably the 16 was probably more of a spike, maybe a COVID spike, and then it's kind of leveling back down.
Okay, great.
You should have totally said it's because you heard me.
It's because we have Paul. Any other questions for this evening?
So we'll do second reading
Yes, at the
and
next
vote
meeting.
at our next meeting, right?
Yes. Hopefully you will vote. I will ask for you to vote.
Yeah, we'll vote. We will vote. That will happen.
All
Okay.
right. Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to get some financial updates from Ms. Lordo.
Good luck. Got it. Good evening. Moving on to the monthly financial report. In your packet, you have the report for February 29th, a leap year, 8th month of the fiscal year. We had total revenue of $169,107,000 and total expenditures of $132,859,000. So as we would expect, we are in a positive cash flow at that time of the year of to $36,247,000. We collected a little bit of real estate tax. Just to remind everyone, we're now in delinquent tax collections, but we collected about $565,000 in real estate taxes. Once again, strong with vehicle taxes. I know you like to hear that number, $1,370,000. So I think our new normal is over $1 million a month.
Is that up this month? You know, we talked at a couple meetings ago about that error that occurred, the auditors that had to go back and get 2021?
That has been, my understanding is that has been somewhat of a phased-in process
Okay.
for York County.
Okay.
There were just a lot, it's a very manual, I believe they have to pull up the tax record, recreate the bill, send it out. I think you were affected,
I was
right?
affected,
Okay.
and I also, in the last week, have seen a lot of other people just talking about it, so I didn't know.
So I really can't say how much of our kind of new monthly normal for vehicle taxes is due to that versus just the growth that we're seeing, more cars on the roads.
Do we know when that correction process is gonna be done?
I'll be glad to check and I'll send that out. I will check with the York County auditor tomorrow and ask him to kind of give me an update. I can share that the board asked, and I'll send out an update to you all and ask, are they finished? Are they still in process? He said it was going to take about 6 to 8 months because of it being a manual process.
I know the one we got, I want to say it was like 120 days, and so it's coming up on the 120, we paid it, but that's when it was going to be due or something like that.
I expect they're probably getting close to the end on that. I don't think they would want that to drag on a lot longer, but I would be glad to check and give you some feedback. Small amount of fee and lieu taxes came in during this delinquent period, but I did want to bring your attention to, if you look at the detail of property tax collections, there's a line item that is for, it's called MPVR, which is Manufacturing Property Valuation Reimbursement. And you'll see in February, we were reimbursed 1.1 million. That is something, we are only in the second year of that at the state level. And that basically was where the state wanted to lower the assessment on manufacturing personal property from 10.5% to 6%, but they wanted to keep taxing entities whole, like they say they're going to do, similar to homestead reimbursements. I cannot tell you if the 1.1 million equals what we would have collected. There's no way to know that, but I did want to bring that to your attention. If you see that that number is favorable over budget, it's because we're only in the second year, and just the uncertainty of what was going to come in under that particular revenue code, but we do account for that separately. So that's what that is. And looking at where we are on local taxes and projecting out to year end, like I like to do this time of year, I'm estimating now we'll come in about 1.6 million over budget, which is a nice number, but we were close. I mean, we're within 1.7% of what we budgeted for local property taxes. If everything holds true with tax collections, which is primarily vehicles, for the remainder of this fiscal year. But I think right now we're probably around that 1.6 mark on over budget at year end.
On the revenue side.
On the revenue side,
Okay.
yes, on the revenue side. But I'll continue to watch that as we move forward for the next couple months of the fiscal year.
Ms. Lordo, so
yes.
a question for you. This is going
Sure.
back to the new funding mechanism, if you will, from the state.
Yes.
What's your take on that today versus 6 months ago versus?
Let me get to that when I talk about the state budget.
Send 10
That may
more?
be a little bit more of a conversation.
Okay.
But
Okay.
great question.
Yep.
Impact fees, total collected to date, we're now at $65,439,000 as of close of business yesterday. We are continuing to draw down those funds with York County. I'm seeing that start to pick up now as we are moving into more construction cost with elementary number 12. We'll actually make a claim the end of this week. I think that will be our 5th claim for probably $4 million. So we're continuing as we reach certain levels to draw that money down. But totals now year to date, single family, we've collected 2,493 units, and multifamily apartments 1,679 for a total of 4,172. March was a month of homes. We had 29 homes permitted. We had 0 apartments.
Wow.
So we had several large days in March where I could tell it was a whole street that made up those 29 homes. Comparable data for 12 months rolling, we're still about 94% more on single family now versus the prior 12 months, and we're about 50% less on apartments. But our March actual collections were 526,000, and that's compared to our average over last calendar year was 597. So we're very close to the monthly average for March with the 29 homes that came in.
When do you expect to do a drawdown for the elementary school? I'm sorry, for the middle school?
Probably closer to when we get more in construction. We're going to use the funds first towards some of this heavy construction. And then as we get to more construction costs as we move into the period with the middle school, we'll start drawing on it.
So as we begin the middle school, we're going to begin it with bond dollars that we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yes.
And then at some point when we get closer to completion of elementary and we know what's left, we'll start buying that.
Correct. Is kind of the plan that we're working on now. But we could certainly change that, but we're monitoring it very close as we go along.
The design is not finalized yet.
Okay. So we're not ready to
Yeah.
We have numbers on how much it's going to cost.
Okay.
Right. But once we really get into that, we could start drawing, and we could start splitting the draws between the elementary and the middle
Well, if we get to the point that we know
we're covered.
Extra right now.
Absolutely.
Covered here, we might as well.
We'll start drawing on the middle school.
Paying up front.
Yes,
And
yes.
we're just bidding out now for that roadwork for York County that we had.
Okay.
So that's going to be X amount.
Mhm.
So, quick question, wouldn't we want to, because right now we're drawing good interest on this money.
We are.
That's true.
And it has to be used towards these projects.
Right, so wouldn't it just make sense to just kind of wait as long as we could before we actually needed to get that out?
For the middle.
Yeah, for the middle.
Because we need it for the
yes,
elementary.
Yes,
Right.
correct.
Right. It's subjective. It's at our discretion what we go borrow temporarily versus what we draw on impact fees. And we will just look at that from a cash flow standpoint and make that call. And we'll look at, a great point, we'll look at what the interest rates, what the
Because right now we're
LGIP's
getting
doing.
really good returns on this.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
Yes. Right. Those returns are affording us the ability to say now we know we'll have some funding towards the middle school.
Right.
Absolutely. Because of that. So, moving on to a couple points about the state budget. This week, actually today, Senate Finance started their budget discussions. I watched all day long. Sometimes it's a lot of things that don't relate to us. They went through all of these. You know, the state budget is in proviso form. It's not permanent law. So they went through all of the K-12 provisos. There was disappointingly very little discussion. I was hoping for the push of, well, let's put more money in, let's change this. I did not hear any of that. Very little discussion, very little discussion. But that tells me now I know pretty much what we have to work with. Unless I'm pleasantly surprised, and once it goes back to the House and they discuss some things, and then it goes back to the full Senate, we'll see. But I am not hearing out of Columbia that there is a lot of desire to make any drastic improvements in the new funding formula at this point. All of the projections so far are based on the 45-day average daily membership numbers from the districts. So just as a reminder, those will all be readjusted for the 135th day of school. Then they'll be readjusted if there are any changes in the what they call House 2 version or the full Senate when it goes back, or conference committee. But what we're working with now is the 45-day allocations as we've received them based on the House. Two little things they did change in the formula, but I have no way to know what the impact. I don't expect it to be significant. They changed the what they're considering the position cost of a teacher. The House had come up with just a rounded number. The Senate Finance went back and based it on the master's degree level at 12 years experience, so midpoint in the scale. They also changed the pupil-teacher ratio back to 11.23. But once again, once that gets plugged into the master formula, we'll see what happens. I don't expect either one of those are going to be significant for us.
Maybe not for us, but the clipping that I read, when it mentioned those two, did imply that that would mean less dollars.
But I did not hear them say today, they've put in 230.
Right, if 230 is still
million.
230,
I
then
did not hear them say publicly, well, that means only 210 million.
25, yeah.
I did not hear them
Okay.
say that, but we will see once the allocations come back out, what they're doing with the formula. As we've said, the formula is not favorable for us. It really puts a burden on us. There were districts that lost money. I think Dr. Epps talked to one of the superintendents who lost money in the allocations we're working with now. We will just have to see how the process continues to go as we watch it. I heard that there was a lot of discussion among some of the senators on Senate Finance about districts having fund balance. There was a lot of discussion about that, to the point that the South Carolina School Business Officials Organization jumped in, and we all responded to a survey, and they compiled a wonderful document of every district and where each of us stands with fund balance, and then why we need fund balance. What are the purposes, the uses of fund balance? And it was a very good document, and I understand that our executive director, she went and met with some representatives last week when we were on spring break and went over that. So I kind of wondered if I was going to hear some discussion from some of the senators today about districts having fund balance, and I did not hear that. So I'm hopeful that now they understand more about why that's important. But we'll continue to kind of work with that if we get more questions about that. But I can tell you, most of the districts responded in regards to fund balance with things like they need funds for picking up these ESSER positions like we've discussed for the fallout from that. They need funds for some capital projects and things like that. So I think it was very helpful to compile that statewide and share that. And it's really, no district, there's different percentages, but there's not anything alarming as far as what districts are carrying in fund balance.
Percentage-wise, are we middle of the road?
We're absolutely middle of the road. Absolutely middle of the road.
And doesn't having a healthy fund balance help us to get a lower bond rate?
Absolutely.
We do need to issue bonds?
Absolutely. Yes.
It also helps us
So,
with payroll in
yes.
November and December and October.
Or we would have to borrow funds.
We'd have to borrow the money and pay the
yes.
interest.
I had a pretty lengthy little paragraph on our section where I put, why it was important and everything that we use it for.
Right.
So.
Have we received any updates on weightings and what those actual metrics are?
We have not.
Okay.
We have not received any updates on, as far as would they come out and look at weightings like we had talked about before. I've not heard anything more about that.
There's something in there about weightings on charters.
Charters.
But I think it got struck down. They were trying to give charter schools even more money for poverty.
And they gave charter schools an additional $1,000 per student. That is still a significant problem in this new formula. If there's anything we need to keep putting in front of our legislative members is that charter schools need to be pulled out and funded separately.
Yes.
They can pull out a part of the pot and fund them, but it is completely skewing the formula with having the charter school enrollments in this formula. And that, if we could just get that little piece separated, it would be beneficial for districts like ours, but I think it would just also be more equitable for districts across the state to pull the charters back out. That is still, when you look at these new allocations and you look at how much additional money the charter schools got, proportionately to their student counts, it really is quite alarming.
Why do you think
And we've got districts who are K-12 districts losing money, public schools losing money, and then we've got the charters that are gaining all of this. It
Why
just
do you think
doesn't
that
make
is?
sense.
Why do you think that is?
Because they get an additional weighting for being a charter school, and they get that additional $1,000
No, I'm
per
saying
student.
why do you think that our legislature is
Oh.
is combining these two very separate things?
I'm not sure. I wasn't involved. I didn't hear a lot of the discussion. Some of you may have heard more about that last year with the new funding formula when they put charter schools in. I think it was just about, like they did with a lot of individual budgeted line items at the state level, they wanted to all roll it up into a nice package. Simplify it. I think it was part of that discussion,
But-
quite honestly.
But then it got a special weighting,
And then it got a special weighting.
Yeah, there's
as,
something
as
else.
with every other
something
problem.
Correct. And now it's got the additional amount per student. Yes.
The other thing that I have heard when you talk about sort of big picture problems, not Fort Mill problems, but is with the funding out the way it's allocated and then adjusted is with students that potentially would leave and go to or start at a private school and then come in because they would not be they would have already received the 5, 6, whatever thousand. I thought it has changed anyway to go to the private school and not be included in the public school if they were to come enroll. Is that right?
I believe so, depending on the time of year that they come in. I think it's going to depend on the time of year that they come in.
Okay.
But I requested, and I've got the master spreadsheet. I received that right before we left for break. I got the master spreadsheet for the state I can share with you if you'd like to see that. But it is it is very hard to
We'll let you, give
it
us
is
the
very
notes.
hard to understand, I'll be honest.
I would rather
So-
have a Cliff Notes version.
yeah, the Cliff Notes version. So that's where we are with the state budget. It will go to the full Senate the week of April 23rd through the 25th. But I don't expect us to see any significant changes. I think the full Senate will pass it out, and then it'll go back to the House. Just wanted to share as far as our local budget, we have received our letter now from the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office. The school district population piece, remember we had the consumer price index piece, which was 4.12%. The school district population increases, they're based on the county population with the Census Bureau. Our growth percentage is 4.13%. So our total millage rate increase limitation is 8.25%. So you take 8.25% of our current operating millage of 265.5 mills, and that is a millage rate increase limit of 21.9 for consideration for the 24-25 budget. So 21.9. And we will, the administration, we are working on our budget right now, and we will plan to give you the first draft of that at the April 23rd meeting.
Which is our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Any questions?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'll
We've
stay.
got several
Okay.
action items that are all kind of financial related. So I don't know if you're going to do them all.
I'm gonna do most of them.
Okay. All right.
So tonight, I'm requesting your consideration and approval of 4 different bond resolutions. And as we have done in past years, I am bringing all of the 2024 calendar year resolutions for your consideration tonight. That then gives us authority. We don't go out and issue all this debt at one time, but as the market conditions are favorable, it allows us, especially during the summer, we can make those decisions and go out and sell bonds in different increments. So tonight, the first one is for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $4,250,000. This is for our annual 8% bond issue for deferred maintenance, technology, or transportation projects that have not been in a referendum, and for items that are too large an amount for the school budgets for our current general fund to handle. You have received with the resolution as Exhibit A the list of the projects. It is a small list this year, and if you have any detailed questions, Mr. Omnick can help me answer them, but I'll just quickly share. This comes off of our 10-year facility needs study. We have two projects, Nation Ford High School roof replacement and Springfield Middle School HVAC Part 2. These are to complete projects that were currently already underway. So these are the remaining funds needed for those. That's why we didn't put those in the referendum on our list. And then we have the parking lot resurfacing, which is desperately needed for the transportation maintenance area. We want to do that project this summer, and we needed to go ahead and move forward with that one very quickly if we could to do that project this summer. And then the fourth one is a district-wide wireless upgrade, $1,450,000. The reason this one is on the list is because when Mr. Spittle and I looked at his technology needs that we put in the bond referendum, we do not need to issue any of that technology debt until this time next year. And so we elected to put this project on this list so we could go ahead and fund it to get started and do it this summer. And that way we're not issuing the other technology debt ahead of schedule, and we're saving on the interest. That's why this technology upgrade project is on this list. As you remember, the last couple of years, we've done a lot of smaller projects at our schools. There's always things to be done, but this was our priority for the $4 million. It's kind of unusual for you to only see 4 projects on here and not multiple pages of smaller items, but we've been able to keep up with all of the smaller projects at the schools. And so tonight, we're asking for you to approve the issuance of $4,250,000. Now, the $250,000 is for bond issuance cost. There's a lot of cost: attorney fees, financial advisor fees, bond ratings. We pay to Moody's to rate our bonds. The auditors review everything, all of those costs. That makes up the difference. So that's the first one. Yes.
Well, now, what would be our typical lifespan or term of the bond, of these type bonds?
3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
Yes.
You were reading my mind.
And these, it really is sort of a recurring, like.
It's
because
recurring.
3 to 5 years, one's rolling off, another one's rolling off.
And that's why we set this budget at $4 million.
Right.
I think Joe would tell you the list is much.
I'm sure, but.
Yes. And I said, please, we need to get it to the $4 million.
To
We
stay
within the plan of rolling it. Yes.
And just to clarify, just because I don't think we are being sneaky, but I could see how somebody might think we were being sneaky because the community just supported us with this huge referendum.
Right.
And then we need some extra. So I just want to make sure that I'm asking the right question so that we can say out loud and proud.
Yes. And here's how I would respond. If someone asked me, the huge referendum, we're not going to issue any of that debt until the end of this summer, probably August.
Okay.
Based on the cash
and
flow.
These are like emergency, not
these
emergency,
are
but
this summer projects.
And if we had asked the community to support these in addition to the others.
Correct.
And there had been a no, then we wouldn't be allowed to do this now. And these are super important, like air conditioning and a roof and a parking lot. Like you've got to have them.
Right.
Like
These
it's halfway done. And
It's halfway done on those two.
So we're not being sneaky. We were being respectful to not put something in the referendum that would have made the community have to go over.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to.
It's yearly. This is our annual.
Right. I just,
piece.
you know,
But it's good to
I-
distinguish that. 'cause
It is,
we do question
absolutely.
On the annual thing. Because
Right.
every year we're issuing
We
this
couldn't
other
put these
debt.
up to chance.
Correct.
Right.
The other half of the roof's gotta
I mean,
get
The other half
Yeah.
of the roof's
Right.
gotta get done.
right.
Yeah,
But you don't want people to think that we've betrayed a trust.
correct,
Because
absolutely
I
not.
think we
So-
are all
So it was a
excited
combination of the
that they
timing
supported
of these and being able to not have to issue any large debt. We could go and do these this summer, combination of all that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
bond pass, bond fail, like
Right,
pass or fail,
right.
these things still had to get done.
Correct. I mean, we made the decision to hold these out and put these on this list.
Plus these are short-term debt.
Very much short-term debt.
I just want,
Great point, yes.
Hey, now, I do have a question. So, so last year we had $8 million on this 4%. And now I could just totally be not remembering correctly, but I thought the whole roof for Nations Ford was on there. Was it on there that it was just a partial?
It was originally only half, but when we bid it out, instead of it costing close to $4 million, it only cost 2.3, 2.4.
Got it.
So it came in about 1/6 less.
Got it. Okay, so it was actually better for us.
But we still didn't account for the entire thing at first because we knew we had to bid it out, but we knew we had to get started.
Yep.
We didn't know what the balance would be, so we knew 2 million would be at least half.
Got it. Thanks. Makes sense.
Any other questions? Somebody like to make a motion?
You want to do that, or you want me to do that?
You're the pro.
I'm
Ms.
the
Mosher?
pro. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to provide for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $4,250,000 general obligation bonds of the Fort Mill School District Number 4 of York County, South Carolina, in one or more series to provide for the issuance of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds, provided hereby to prescribe the purposes for which the proceeds of such obligations shall be expended, to provide for the payment thereof and other matters relating thereto.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for not to exceed $4.25 million for general obligation bonds as described by Michelle. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Okay.
that motion carries.
And the next one, now, those bonds that you just approved, those will be sold on April 24th.
Okay.
But the remaining that we're going to talk about will not be sold until later the summer, the fall, different time periods. So the first one's the only current one that we're going to market with. The second one is for the issuance and sale not exceeding $6 million of general obligation bonds. This will be for the sole purpose of our installment purchase revenue bond payments that are due next November and then next May of 2025. If you recall, our IPRB bonds were the funding mechanism for building Pleasant Knoll Elementary School and Sugar Creek Elementary School and the extension at Nation Ford High School. And then a small piece of these bonds will be for our equipment acquisition payment that will be due December of 2024 of $499,000. That equipment acquisition agreement was for 3 HVAC unit replacements, and I can't recall which 3 schools, but we did that several years ago. So this bond issue would be only for those 2 purposes, IPRB payments and equipment acquisition payments.
This is an annual event.
And this is an annual event every year.
For
Yes.
another,
I think we've got about 6 to 8 years left.
yeah, because this was the way the financing for those particular projects was structured.
Correct.
But it has to be approved every year.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It's already in the budget. It's not an increase or anything like that. It's
Correct.
just
It's already in the
mechanically has to be approved. every
debt millage plan built out.
Right.
Yes.
I think that's an important statement.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
not new money or anything like that. It's been known and accounted for.
No
It's just
increase
the
here.
mechanics of
It's
of
the
approving
mechanics of the
spending
formal
every year.
approval.
Correct.
Correct. And we will issue these probably in September timeframe. I'll let you know, give you updates when we do
But
certainly.
you wouldn't do them with the others regardless.
We cannot.
Right. they
This has to be by
its own
law separate.
Right.
Yes.
thing. All right. I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for a resolution to provide for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $6 million general obligation bonds for the Fort Mill School District Number 4 of York County, South Carolina, in one or more series to prescribe the purposes for which the proceeds of such obligation shall be expended, to provide for the payment thereof, and other matters relating thereto.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to provide for the issue and sale not to exceed $6 million of general obligation bonds as described by Michelle. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Okay,
that
thank you.
motion carries.
The third resolution is for you as the Board of Trustees of Fort Mill School District 4 to declare the results of a referendum held in the Fort Mill School District on March 19th, 2024. And this resolution does state that the question, which was the question on the ballot for the construction of the new schools, as well as some other projects, that the question resulted favorably with 2,438 votes cast in favor and 1,327 votes cast opposed. But the votes cast in favor were 64.75%.
Leanne, can you say those vote counts again?
Sure. 2,438 favorable and 1,327 opposed.
Making
64.75% is what the York County Voter Registration Elections Board certified.
So I can't emphasize, like, you break this down, every person's vote, I mean, you're talking over $100,000 was how much a vote was.
Interesting way of looking at it.
And for people
Right.
not
Yes.
to not
vote.
partake in
Yes.
that, that's how expensive a vote was.
Right.
I gotta get my
That
non-voting
isn't-
sticker back out.
I mean, that's just such, I mean, it's just such a low,
Yeah.
it's just such a low number for such a big deal,
I know.
right? So
Yes.
it just blows my mind.
Yeah. But we're very pleased
I
with
was
the
gonna say,
outcome and
Welcome to the reality.
the support of the community for this.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
seriously, it did not garner a lot of attention in the community, good or bad. I mean, it just didn't.
Right.
It was not a
It
hot
wasn't a
topic.
thing, right, it wasn't a
and
thing.
so I'm pleased that enough people knew about it, and that those who did voted favorably. You know, to the tune of 65%, which is I think higher than some of our recent ones have passed. So
Yeah.
Yes.
all things
Well,
considered,
Yes.
And it just speaks to the support that our community has and the value that our community places on public education and the education that we provide in Fort Mill School District. So those that supported it, 62%-ish,
65%.
65%-ish, appreciate and value that, and the other percentage chose not to. Okay, that's your choice.
I am also still thankful from a planning and a financial management standpoint. It's not nothing as far as
Right.
dollars to the businesses and the households in our community. It's definitely not nothing. But even though it's a big number, because it is spread widely, I think it is a tolerable number for most people. I've seen some discussion of some bond referendums being floated around in neighboring communities that
Would choke a cow.
are going to be a really hard thing for an individual homeowner or business to be able to vote positively for, just because of the financial impact. So I'm glad that ours was able to be, tolerable for the community.
Right.
So
Great.
Tolerable.
tolerable. I mean, again, nobody wants to spend any more money than you have to.
Right.
I get it.
Exactly.
I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resolution to declare the results of a referendum held in the Fort Mill School District, number 4 of York County, South Carolina, on March 19, 2024, whereas there has been received by the Board of Trustees of Fort Mill School District, number 4 of York County, South Carolina, certification of the voter registration and elections, do we really? Yes. Of York County certifying that a referendum held in the school district on March 19, 2024 did result as described below. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Fort Mill School District Number 4, York County, South Carolina, in meeting duly assembled. Do I have to keep going?
I think you're good.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to declare the results of the referendum from March 19th as described. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We accept the
Okay.
results of the
Thank you. And now that you've accepted the results, the last resolution is for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $204 million of general obligation bonds as a result of the referendum. I will note, as we've stated a couple of times, that these will be issued in incremental amounts as we need to meet the cash flow needs of the projects, the construction projects in the referendum plan. So we will not go out and issue $204 million at one time. We will monitor this as we go through the next couple years and issue as needed.
And this is also portions will be allocated to different term lengths, depending like our technology.
Correct, absolutely. Any opportunity that we can build it in with a shorter payback period to save taxpayers' interest, we absolutely will do that.
So it's just another reason to break it up.
Correct.
and it's chunked up couple times a year usually.
We have a plan now, we'll probably the technology will be issued annually.
Right.
The other pieces will probably have at least 6 to 8 different issues of that funding.
Yeah, I mean, there's
as
a fine
needed.
line. You don't want to break it down so small because there's a cost.
Correct.
But you chunk it so that you can predict out X number of months.
Correct. We've already working with Leitner Construction with their projected cash flow. We've already looked at that and matched up different pieces that different time periods, how much we may need to issue at different points in time. But this will allow us to have the authority when we need to do that pretty quickly.
Right. Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation for a resolution to provide for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $204 million general obligation bonds of Fort Mill School District Number 4 of York County, South Carolina, in one or more series for the issuance of notes in anticipation of such bonds to prescribe the purposes for which the proceeds of such obligations shall be expended to provide for the payment thereof and other matters relating thereto.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to provide for the issuance and sale not to exceed $204 million of general obligation bonds, as described by Michelle. Any other questions, discussion?
Nope.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion
Thank you.
also carries. All right, and again, thank you significantly to the community for the support because
Definitely.
this is going to do great things, both in terms of the necessary expansion of middle school, but also the ability to begin the work that we've talked about for a few years now on a 4K program. So I think that's pretty exciting for our community. That brings us to our last open session item for the superintendent's report.
My turn. Well, I'd like to thank the board and congratulate the board on their work tonight. It's really a historic night. The election was a start for the district, like they all are. Your work tonight shows that your heart's in the right places, the right place. Your heart's collective heart. The children, as I said on election night, are the real winners here. I'm thankful to live in a community where that many people voted in favor of a tax increase, knowing on the back end about the quality of life and their home values and all the positive things that a strong public school system brings to a community. So thank you all for your willingness to buy into the vision. Let's see if I can bring a lot of good work tonight. Let's see if I can bring us home. Calendar of events. Spring break already behind us. We put that on there before we mailed it out, right, Tom? Okay, can we do it again, starting tomorrow?
That's right.
School board meeting tonight. Michelle, you may want to mention on the 10th, we didn't put it on here, the School Boards Association Day at the Capitol, which is tomorrow. Do you want to?
Tomorrow.
Anybody Kids welcome to go, but,
Lippy and I are going,
oh, okay, good.
Thank you.
Kind of timely with the Senate.
right?
Yeah.
Budget.
Yes.
Crossover day.
That's right, it's real important tomorrow.
Well, and they actually crossed over early.
Oh, did they?
Some did, not all, but some did.
Okay.
Teacher of the Year banquet, I think you all got an email. We had to limit tickets because because of the venue, but that's on the 18th. School board meeting on the 23rd, which will present the first blush at the budget. 2-hour release day on the 26th. Then the reason the 27th, the Strawberry Sprint and Stroll is a town of Fort Mill event, but the Foundation for Fort Mill Schools benefits from this event, and I think the leadership at least the Fort Mill Economic Partner leadership that the board I'm on is trying to get the teachers in the schools to have teams and compete with each other. And since you're going to be the recipient, we're going to be the recipients. Lippy, are you the foundation person?
I am, and there is a separate trophy for the school with the most participation / spirit. So I know there's some principals in the room that's all I had to say, and they're gonna bring it.
They can have more than one team, right? They can have a bunch.
They can have as many teams as they want. They can dress as strawberry theme. They can represent their houses. They can represent their schools as however you want to do it. But they're very excited. The foundation has wanted to do a 5K, but they haven't been certain how to manage it. So the partnership between the economic partners and this group, with the benefit being our teachers and students, I think is a win-win for our whole community.
Yep.
So it's exciting, and I'm sure everybody wants to go run before you eat strawberry shortgate anyway.
You can walk too, right?
Rather
You
run
can
before than
stroll.
after.
You can stroll.
That would be me, I will stroll, I'm not running.
Okay, looking at May, board meetings on the 7th and the 21st scheduled. Memorial Day holiday, the 27th, no school for students and staff. Half day for students on the 30th. Then the 31st is the last day, another half day. Then we roll in Friday the 1st, high school graduations at Winthrop, NAFO at 10 a.m., Fort Mill High at 2, Tauber Ridge at 6. And board members are invited to attend any or all of them. Teacher work day on Monday the 3rd, and then the public hearing on the budget and budget vote on the June the 4th. Anything I left off of there?
Do we not have any more school visits the rest of the year?
You had them, you're done. You did your last one in March.
All right then. And primary day is June 11th. It's an important day in our community.
Yep.
Okay, looking at enrollment, we grew by 13 kids, so we're now up to 18,414. If you add how many did the mid-year graduation? 70 something?
70 to 80 usually.
Got to my 18.5, Anthony. I'm getting there.
I know you did. You did.
Counting them. We budgeted for them. I'm counting
Good
them.
job. That's right.
Then you look at teacher attendance for the month of March. Fort Mill High led the way at high school level, 94.16. The middle school leader was Forest Creek at 95.69. That's their first win of the year. That's good for them. Fort Mill High has been consistent. And then the district leader was Springfield Elementary. They won multiple times.
Yeah.
96.19. So let's give those teachers a big round of And I'd like the board chair, if it's fine, I'd like to take the liberty to make a few comments about the events of last before the break. I'm going to read some comments about our tragedy in the community. I'm going to make some off-the-cuff remarks, try to. I just want to go on the public record. We communicated this with the public already, but I want to address some of the recent tragedy events. The entire Fort Mill School District community is profoundly saddened by the loss we have endured. Our hearts and prayers go out to Mr. Stanley Bruckner's family during this incredibly difficult time. He was an integral part of our extended school family. There are simply no words to alleviate the pain of losing a loved one, but we hope his family can find solace in the support of our community as they navigate through their grief. I remember when we had 400 employees, we now have 2,500, 26, I think. Death is never easy of a staff member or a child. It's painful, whether it's 400 or 20. I guess you could say that the odds are that you're going to have more, the bigger your number is, but it's still the same amount of pain for the family and for the district. Some of these comments I've already released to the public, but having lived and worked here for my entire life, I've witnessed the growth and the evolution. Through it all, our unwavering love and support for each other, as well as the family atmosphere we cherish, have remained constants. And I did ask everybody, and I'll ask everybody again, let us lean on these foundations as we come together to mourn the loss of Mr. Brunner and strive to make our community a safer place for everyone. It is a community. And if you know me, you hear me talk about family and community a lot in the culture of this district. And I think this now's the time and I think that's one of the pillars of why we're so successful. And I think this just reiterates how we need to reach down and lean on that now at this time. The incident served as a poignant reminder of the critical importance of exercising caution and remaining vigilant when traveling through school zones. We urge everyone to be especially mindful during drop-off and dismissal times. Going forward, I do need to say we're collaborating with South Carolina DOT, law enforcement, local municipalities, and external organizations to actively work to enhance safety measures at our school entrances, exits, and crossings. Other specific changes are still under discussion. Be rest assured, and we'll talk about those when they're brought forward. It's a multifaceted issue working with several agencies. It's not something that's going to be in a written plan or a nice little neat package in 1 week. It's going to take some time. So specifically, we have met with South Carolina DOT on the site. We're meeting with the town of Fort Mill and the city of TKK Police this week again. We're delving with our lawyers, or talking to other lawyers about some legal issues and associated with some questions. I understand last night the town of Fort Mill passed a resolution to help us with this issue of safety, and we look forward to partnering with them on that. You can't really provide closure to this event. You know, every day we need to be safe. It's not something you just say, well, but we fixed it up, we're good to go. It could happen any time. All we can do is seek to be better. Schools are an important part of our fabric of the community. The gravity of our work is enormous. The responsibility is huge. We're educating students and we're providing safety. We're all in this together. We need the help of our parents. We need the help of the municipalities. We need the general public's help. It's not just school traffic that is involved every day in front of our schools. It's all the community. So it's a situation we all need to try to do better in. Like I say, I can't button it up. I just wanted to make those comments for the public record.
Can I ask? So to your point, I know there have been a lot of conversations, and they're ongoing with town, city, county, DOT, the crossing guard agency.
Be rest assured, we're talking about everything that you're thinking in your mind. Like, why don't they do this? Why don't they? We're discussing it all.
So I guess the town's intent with their resolution was to formalize the request to SCDOT, because a lot of the things that are probably being contemplated really are at the discretion of SCDOT, since it's a state road. So my understanding anyway is that the reason for the resolution was to formalize that request to DOT, that we're requesting and asking that they analyze and provide recommendations, including whatever kind of signalization, signage, lighting, whatever can be done, and a consideration of what the speed limit number should be, so that during certain hours. We obviously can't take an action tonight because we don't have it, and Robert's rules won't allow that. So I don't know if we want to try and pull together it would have to be a special called meeting, or we'd have to wait 2 weeks. if we wanted to do a similar resolution to that.
And you're welcome to do that. We're already moving on that,
Right.
but you're welcome to do that. I meant to say that.
So, I mean,
I think we need to.
so,
think it's
so that would,
appropriate.
like I said, that, I think the right thing to do if we're going to do it would be to do it quickly, and we'll just have to find a time that we can do a special called meeting specifically for that action, and it would be a very short agenda.
Be worthwhile.
I would assume it would look very, very similar to the one that Fort Mill did, with tweaks as needed to make it appropriate from the school district. I haven't looked at theirs that closely. I just know that they did that last night. So I'm seeing head nods, so we'll get together and talk about when we could find a time that we can get a quorum together to do something similar. Okay, if that works for everybody. Okay. Again, all the action is happening, but I think the formality of and the seriousness that we really want there to be some actions.
I gotta say today, going down W's Bridge Road, here come another car flying past me, lights, the school lights flashing down and right where the school crossing guard is. And if I'd have had my bazooka paint gun, they'd have been colored up.
Bazooka paint gun.
Yeah.
They'd have been colored up.
It's reckless learned behavior. Today I had the same experience here. I think that, was it 30 right there now? 30.
30.
I was
30
going
goes.
through there today doing 30 and somebody was behind me blowing the horn. I mean, I don't know how you react to that.
Just wave.
Yeah, give them a special wave.
Yeah.
All right. Take that how you like.
Unique for them.
Special wave.
Like a New York wave.
That's right. On that note, we are in need of an executive session. Apparently, we've got to talk about personnel.
Executive session.
To discuss contractual issues and personnel recommendations. So,
Motion to go into executive session.
thank you, everybody, for joining. Hopefully, the live stream worked, and we'll see you.